welcome back to the iWealth podcast. I'm with Alec Broadfoot today, and Alec owns VisionSpark, so I'm very excited to have him on the podcast. And I just want to be able to talk to him about what he's doing, what his world looks like. Alec and I are in a group together called Strategic Coach, which I've talked about a lot, and it's just a group of entrepreneurs that get together every quarter. You and I, Alec, go to Chicago, and so tell us just a little bit of like where are you at, where do you live, that kind of thing. Tell me about your family a little bit, and then let's get into what VisionSpark does.
Yeah, so I live in Columbus, Ohio, and I have 3 kids. 2 are grown. I got one 15-year-old, and my company VisionSpark. We are passionate about helping companies hire the right leaders.
And when you say hire the right leaders, are you primarily working with small businesses, mid-sized businesses? Like, what's your sweet spot? And then when you say leaders, that means different things to different people too, right?
Yeah.
Is it the C-suite, or is it anyone, like strategic? Like, what's that mean?
Yeah, our sweet spot is in that 10 million to 25 million in revenue. We've got clients as little as 3 million in revenue, as much as $1 billion in revenue. We're really good. We call it the dirty dozen, but there's about 12 positions that we're really good at. And so that could be CEO, COO, second in command, integrator, and then the C-suite, whether it's head of marketing, sales, HR, finance. We do a lot of sales leaders, whether it's like a national accounts manager or a regional manager. We do some marketing manager, and we're really good at those high-level executive assistants. So entrepreneurs that really need a high-level executive assistant, we do those really well.
That's interesting. And so where do you... Now, I don't need to know the secret sauce, but where are these people? Is it all over the country? Are you certain states? Like, are you demographically? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah, we serve the United States. I mean, over the 14 years, we've had clients in every state, I believe. We've served Canada a couple of times. And with our TIP assessment, we have clients in the UK and Australia.
And I definitely want to get into TIP assessment in a minute. How does somebody know if I'm an entrepreneur with $10 million in revenue and, I've got 9 people on my team, and I'm like, well, I need to find I got to level up here and get a COO or, somewhere's in there. What should they be asking a company like VisionSpark? Like, I'm assuming there's other people that do what you do as well. So why VisionSpark? But what should they be asking? What should they be thinking about?
Yeah. Well, number one is, are they a search firm that actually vets the candidates? Or are they a contingency firm or recruiter that basically just sends resumes to you, right? So, we're a search firm. There are a lot of companies that they focus on the resume. I just wrote an article on LinkedIn about how now 78% of resumes have outright lies in them. So, and then you would want to know what the vetting process is like. So are they vetting them for their character, their core values, their AI savviness, leadership skills? Do they use scripted interviews with a response guide and a scoring system? Do they have a process? How scientific is it? And then do they use any sort of profile or personality assessment? And do they measure mental aptitude? So many companies, whether it's recruiters, executive search firms, or whether they hire internally, do not evaluate mental aptitudes like mental acuity, vocabulary, communication, memory retention. And so that's super important. So, a lot of people think hiring is an art, but when you really look at it, it's really a science. So
that's
it's a process.
That's interesting. Yeah. And so that assessment, so you do those things, obviously. Mm-hmm. You're not just sending a resume, you're part of the process. Before we get into the tip, what's the investment look like just on an average for people in your field? What's it look like? So if I could go put an ad on LinkedIn to find a COO or something to try, right? I shouldn't say to try, or Indeed or whatever those things are. But I could also go to a specialist like you that could do those searches for me and give me 3 to 5 candidates maybe to interview or to look at that you've already did some profiling on. That's valuable. What's the investment to the company just on an average?
Yeah, on an average for our industries, anywhere between 20 and 35% of the total compensation. And what's unique about our company is that we will give you our fee ahead of time. And so, if you're trying to decide between 2 candidates and one wants a higher compensation, you're going to reach back out to us because we've given you all this data and science and to say, hey, you guys did a great job. I can't decide. One of them wants 175 comp, another one's 225. What should I do? And so we're not going to say, well, hire the 225 candidate because we get a bigger piece of the pie. So that fee has already been decided. So yeah, but generally it's 20 to 35% of the total base compensation.
Okay.
And you want to pay for an A player, right? So, and an A player will pay for themselves in a short time, and so they're also much more productive. 50% to 200% more productive. So pay 10 to 20% more, get an A player, and you won't regret it.
Yeah, and we did that in our firm locally, and it's worked out really well. If it doesn't work out, though, there is some like 3-month, 6-month type things, right, where they can come back to the pool of people or say, hey, this isn't working.
Yeah. Most high quality search firms will give a guarantee. So at VisionSpark, we have up to a 12-month guarantee. And so if you're not happy, we'll redo the search at no charge.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. That's really good clarity. Let's get into this tip assessment because it's really cool. So you and I, grew up in the strategic coach world. They use Kolbe, which, and this better than I do, so I won't try to butcher this, but that measures how you like handle things or how you want to, my door's closed because I have a high follow through and I don't want to be interrupted and I want to check off lists. Kolbe's super interesting. We do that on every candidate before we hire them. We don't use it to hire or fire, but if we got to weed somebody out, it's like, does this Kolbe profile? What's super interesting about the tip, which we're starting to use now for all our hires at iWealth, is that measures other things. So help me understand that. Like if somebody is going to hire VisionSpark to find them a COO, they're going to go through these assessments, and one of this major assessments tip, and I think you came up with it, right? Like to explain that.
Yeah. So the tip's been around for 60 years. We recently updated the science, the data, so it is more modern, geared towards the small to mid-sized business owner. It was written by an industrial psychologist back in the 60s, and their audience was corporate executives, and they had no feelings. And so it was written, and a lot of times people were offended by the language. And so we updated it to modern day language. So it's the same engine, it just has a different package. So it's called the Talent Impact Profile. And the Kolbe is really good at measuring instinct and drive. So it measures the conative part of the brain. There's 3 parts of the brain. So there's conative, affective, and cognitive. And so the tip assessment measures the cognitive and affective. So the affective part is really personality. That's where 99% of assessments measure, whether it's DISC, Myers-Briggs, Predictive Index, Culture Index. What makes TIP different is that it measures performance. So there's 10 personality dimensions, and they're, like for example, measures organization. So you could be on the disorganized side or on the organized side. And so there's 10 dimensions like that. And then the cognitive, which I spoke of earlier, there's 6 cognitive aptitudes that measure. So mental acuity, how quickly somebody learns. Are they a strategic thinker, problem solver? Can they pivot? Can they do well with AI and implement AI in structure? So that mental acuity is huge. It measures business terms, general vocabulary, memory retention, which also measures their ability to stay up to date with product trends and competitive trends. And it measures their mechanical motivation. So those are the 6. Oh, and I forgot numerical accuracy. That's super important if you're hiring a controller, an attorney. We do like to see our leaders have strong attention to detail. So that's something that we look at very closely.
It's interesting. And so what you have helped us, your team has helped us do is we're taking assessments on our end. So if we're going to hire a wealth advisor, what's our baseline? Like let's get our best wealth advisors, let's get a baseline and then measure them to that, right? Measure the new advisor to it. And then a client service associate, so somebody that's going to work somewhat backstage and front stage with the clients, but do paperwork and things. Let's get an assessment score for our best there and then measure against the new hire. That's really cool.
It is. It's one of the nice features about the tip that you can actually, number one, we have a database of several hundred positions of what the success baseline, the benchmarks are for that position. And then you can compare that to, so your financial advisor, you can compare that to our baseline of what we have for successful financial advisors. But what's really cool is that we can customize that baseline. So your firm, you may have a different culture, you may have a different approach. And so we would adjust the benchmarks so it's geared towards your firm. And so you would know pretty quickly if that person's going to succeed or not. And another cool feature about it, it has I call it a BS meter. So many times when people take assessments, they're trying to tell you what you want to hear. Mm-hmm. And now with AI, I mean, you can jump on AI and just say, hey, this company uses X assessment. How should I take the assessment so I can get the job, right? And so because our assessment is timed on the mental aptitudes, there's no time to check with AI. And secondly, on the personality, there's a way, and I'm not going to share how, but we know if someone is exaggerating or distorting their response. And so we can quickly say, Alec, he was applying here and he was not truthful at all. He's telling you what you want to hear. These are not accurate. And so it's a really cool feature of the TIP assessment.
Yeah, that's really neat and very key too. Yeah, it's just really, really neat. I want to pivot and talk about one thing that you had brought up earlier, which is the executive assistant. Mm-hmm. So I recently hired an executive assistant, but I can tell you, I really didn't know what that role really means. But it is a sweet spot. It's something that you guys do well. So when does somebody need an executive? Like if there's an entrepreneur listening to this saying, mm-hmm. hey, my world's getting a little complex. Like what do you see is a good pivot? And then what does an executive assistant do?
Yeah. I mean, there's different levels of executive assistants. So there's virtual assistants, which I highly recommend for anybody that does not have an assistant. Like they say in Strategic Coach, if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. That person can start with your calendar, your email, travel plans. So that would just free up your time so you can focus more on unique ability. If you are someone that leads a big team and you need someone that is really going to protect your time, manage you, then I would recommend a full-time assistant, preferably in person. So I've actually have gone through that transition myself where I had a part-time assistant, then I had a remote assistant, and then I said, I want an in-person assistant. And it's been a game changer. And for those in Strategic Coach, they say don't buffer alone. And so on my buffer days, my assistant's there with me and we can get a lot done and accomplish a lot. And it really allows for great focus days and free days. So I would just, there's different tools out there. Strategic Coach has that activity inventory. EOS has that delegate and elevate. VisionSpark, we have the impact clarifier. But make a list of the activities that you're doing and the ones that you dread doing or cause a lot of friction or you procrastinate, is that something that an assistant can do? And look at your time. Is it 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week? And if it's more than 20, I would recommend a full-time assistant because you will be able to find plenty of things for them to do.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm just getting going, but that balance between personal and professional, to be able to be in my professional email, but then my personal email. Mm-hmm. Be able to be on my professional calendar and my personal calendar and wipes and things like that. Like it is a game changer. And I probably should have did it a lot earlier. So if anybody's listening to this and you don't have an executive assistant, want to talk about it, how would they find you, Alec, if they wanted to look up VisionSpark and just find you? What's the best way to get
our website is visionsparksearch.com. They can also reach out to me on LinkedIn, and then Amazon. I have a book on Amazon called Hiring the Right Number 2 Leader. It's all about the impact of a number 2 leader, how you can gain more freedom and have more impact and earn more money by having the right number 2.
What was the why or catalyst for writing your book?
That's a great question. Number one is we are really good at those number 2 searches. So when I looked at the data of how we compare to our competition, we just blew them out of the water. So like our competition, their placement rate, and that is, if I spend money on a recruiter, what are the odds that you're going to find me the person I need to hire, right? So that is 60%. Okay, so that is the industry norm. For us in that integrator position, we're at 99%.
Wow.
And then the other statistic is the retention side. So how long do they stay after 1 year? We're over 95%, 96%. in that our competition is anywhere between 40 and 70%. So I'm like, we are really good at this number 2 role. We've heard from others, like our clients. Our clients have used other search firms. This is such a hard position for them to fill, or I can't fill it. I'm like, well, it's not hard for us. I mean, it's easy, right? It's your unique ability is something that's easy for us. And so we've just been phenomenal at it with great success. And I have one client that has hired us 3 times over the last 11 years for their number 2. So each one has stayed 5 years, and this last one has stayed a year. And so they've just are huge fans of what we do and how we do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Alec. I really appreciate you sharing your insight and what you're doing. If anybody needs any of this type of help, obviously reach out to Alec as well. So have a great day. Thanks for tuning in to the iWealth podcast, and we'll talk to you guys soon.